Here we go, first launch on the Advance TAU DLS. Good morning! Early morning window before it's due to get gusty and blown out quite quickly. I'm very excited. I've got a new wing to test today. This is the new high-end ENC two-liner from Advance, the Advance TAU. DLS is in the durable light structure, which means it's semi-light, light yet durable. The same durability as a normal wing, but they've done stuff with the construction and clever choice of materials, etc., to bring the weight down and make it relatively compact. See? Oh, there we go. TAU DLS. Very nice bag. Flat bag DLS, which is really very nice concertina bag. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Just look at it. What a beautiful, beautiful thing. Beautifully made. Very beautifully made. Nitinol rods on light to moderate sharp nose there. A nitinol rod going along the bottom here. Let's see how long they go. Let's see how far they go along the bottom. Just to here, what normal is just past two-line attachment points. Oh yeah, and then the undersurface lower down here. Again, there's another nitinol rod spanning across the rear lines. So there, nitinol rod starts there, spans across to here. Then if we go round to the trailing edge, let's do the middle on the line point there. That's where the most longest one's likely to be. I'd expect it to go almost all the way to the trailing edge. Yeah, and as usual, there's that much. So just that much to the trailing edge without the rod. So let's have a look at the risers. Starting from the bottom there. Look at the construction on that. It's run stand 20mm pulleys, top and bottom. Brummel hook haters can take them off if they want. There we go, and the risers just very elegant, simple, beautiful. There's a carbon handle there. It's fixed, so it's not adjustable. And brake handles, they seem to have changing the colour of their brake handles. So there we go, with the usual advanced type of magnet system. So here you have the system there. That's the usual thing you have with two-liners, is that there's a line going across that goes to the outer line and the stabilo to do the acceleration, to keep it to not over accelerate the tips. The pulley at the back, nice Austrialpen pulley, and of course, as you'd expect for this class of wing, fully unsheathed lines. Advance have very much said this wing is meant to be highly competitive. Let's go along the leading edge. So yeah, you can see definitely a high performance wing, quite small sails and openings, to say with that shark nose profile. Looking at the line attachment point here along the trailing edge. Here you can see there the trailing edge there. That's the brake roofing system. Okay, definitely time to go flying.
One eternity later.
First impressions are, it's more like a high aspect ratio Sigma DLS than it is a low aspect ratio Omega. That's my very first thing that'll come out with. I mean, obviously it's got DLS construction, but it's also just the way the wing feels. It feels very solid, doesn't have any snakiness at all. It flies very much as monoblock, one wing, uniblock. Apart from, as usual with wings, it's quite common that near the tips kind of will, when you're stalling and stuff, the tips will peel back. That's quite a common thing. But generally the whole wing feels very solid. The tips are just slightly less solid, but still very solid. So it's a very solid collapse resistant feeling. That feeling was immediate apparent to me from first inflation. Carrying on ground handling, that carried on. And the whole wing feels very taut and solid right across it. But at the same time, it doesn't have a sort of edgy sportiness to it. It has a very solid and pretty reassuring feeling to it. However, I definitely feel like already it feels like clear to me the pilot demands are a step up from the Sigma 12, and it is a high C, and that's in terms of both the aspect ratio and also just the management on the stall point. So with a Sigma, you can be quite abusive on it for a C-class glider, and it's very forgiving. This is definitely a high C in that in that regard. And just with that extra aspect ratio, you can see in my ground handling, the tips just require more management. It's just got a little bit more pilot demands to it. I think it's a proper high C. It's not a pseudo C. It's not a D in C clothing. But definitely for pilots, if you've been flying a Sigma 11 or 12 or a mid-C wing, this is definitely a step up like the other high C wings. The feeling of solidness and solidity, firmness goes into the brakes. The brakes are on the firmer side, so it's not a light handling wing. It's got very firm, positive brakes, so you really feel it's got a very direct, firm handling to it. Not heavy, but firm. And thermaling very, very nicely, very, very efficient. Feels very, very efficient. The whole way through the launch, the soaring, the gliding, thermaling, and then using the bar, it just feels super efficient the whole time. That's one thing that comes to me. I was able, in some quite punchy, horrible air, to turn it around and turn in the thermals. The risers are really nice to handle. The rear risers are very, very good. On speed bar, the wing seems to pick up a lot of speed. Seems very quick. It certainly picks up speed quickly and a lot. Felt really fast. And the wing was really solid. This is a two-liner. They've made it to be a two-liner. And so it feels very much like a two-liner. And then on bar, and using the rear risers, it seems like it's been very much optimized to fly like that. And flying on bar, it was super fast and super solid, as I say. And the rear risers, I had a really good feeling of connection. And they're relatively light. They're light to moderate, so very, very usable. And just gliding out, going through some quite choppy air. The wing was super solid, so I didn't really need to do too much. But I did fly a little bit actively, and you're definitely going to be able to fly this. If you're on bar and going fast, wanting to be efficient, you're punching into wind or crosswind or something like that, or through sync, and you're on bar, well, it's going to be very, very usable for that. Where some two-liners are very heavy and stiff, and so it's hard to do that. But I think, yeah, Advance seem to have made a wing that's got very, very good performance in the high C class, right up there, but also something that's relatively more accessible in a high C class. So now you've got a really nice step from the Yota 3 to the Sigma. And of course, there was a rather large jump to the Omega before. And now I think the TAU DLS just fills that gap perfectly. I think it's right between those two wings. With the right pilots on it, there's no reason I don't expect to see this glider on the podium and winning serial class competitions. It's a wing that's made to be super solid and confidence inspiring. For a high C, it's definitely a high C. The pilot demands are higher than they are for the Sigma, for a mid-C, or say the Delta. It's a step up from that. And they're very similar to the other high Cs that are not hot Cs, like the Photon and the V Scala 2, Zoom X2C, and the BGG QR3. I think they're lower than they are for the Jin GTO3. I think that's the highest pilot demands in the class. Yeah. So really very, very impressed. I have to admit, it's not what I was expecting. I was kind of expecting a lower aspect ratio Omega. Of course, that's ULS, so maybe I shouldn't be so surprised. This does feel like a higher aspect ratio, solid two-liner Sigma. So if you're a pilot who flies a Sigma and loves it, and are looking to step up from a mid-C to a two-liner C, then I think this is going to be a pretty logical progression for you. If you're flying so yeah, if you've been flying, I think for all of these high Cs, if you've been flying a mid-C glider and you feel like it's time for you to step up and progress from that, then this is definitely one to consider. It's definitely not a hot C, it's a proper high C, and I think actually the pilot demands to keep it flying, keep it above your head, they're certainly not at the higher end of the high C class. They're around the middle, or maybe even on the lower side from my flying so far. And I think I've been flying some quite sporty air. That's all for this first impressions review of the TAU DLS size 23. I think we need to go now because it's going to start raining soon. So it is raining, Nancy says. A little bit. It's only spit spots. It's only spit spots, Phil. It's okay.